Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to echo some things that my colleague from Alabama said. There is a vast difference between the Department of Defense and all other government agencies. And when we force the Department of Defense to operate under a continuing resolution, we are putting our troops at increased risk. When we force the Department of Defense to operate in a way where they do not have reliable, dependable funding, particularly in a situation that we're in today where we're facing grave and growing threats, we are making the mission of our men and women in uniform harder. And what that means today, I'm interested that those on the other side of the aisle are sort of talking about this as though it's some kind of a game, that we're all playing a game, that somehow we're going to, it's just a game that we're sending over to the Senate. Maybe it's that I haven't been here as long, but I do not believe the defense of this nation is a game. And for the House of Representatives to do the right thing, which is to say we are going to fund defense at the level it needs to be funded with an appropriations bill that is at the level that this committee, with huge effort and work, already passed out, which is also, by the way, the level that the Senate, on a bipartisan basis, approved in the National Defense Authorization Act. That is our constitutional obligation. Now, we all in this body spend a lot of time frustrated about Senate rules, but this is more than that. As we sit here this evening, the dysfunction in the United States Senate is putting America's security at risk. And you can say that as Republicans, that as Democrats. I'm stunned, frankly, that every Democrat in the United States Senate sent a letter over here basically saying they would rather shut down this government than fund the support of the troops and fund the military of this nation. That is appalling. So if it is in fact the case that your colleagues in the Senate on the Democrat side of the aisle are going to play a game, that is their game. But when we are in a situation where the train wreck that is the Senate right now, the absolute train wreck, their inability to get anything done, is making it easier for our adversaries to close the gap, is increasing the risk that our troops are facing as they work to keep us safe every day. The reality is the only people in this country, the only people on this planet who can protect the United States military, who can make sure they have the resources they need, are the people in this body, in the United States House of Representatives. And so this isn't a game where we say we're going to sort of pull defense out and send it over there. This is, we are doing what is right for this nation. We are doing what is right for our men and women in uniform. And if it means that the Senate is going to play a game and send it back, we don't sort of throw our hands up and say, you know what, another continuing resolution, let's go again. We stand and we fight. And I mean that very seriously. We are the ones that are right now tasked with protecting the men and women in uniform, the men and women who are on the front lines defending us. Only us in this body can make sure they get the resources they need. And if the United States Senate wants to play games, if the Democrats in the Senate want to play games, that's their choice. But they're going to have to stand up and explain to the American people how it is they are not willing to support our men and women in uniform, to provide them with what they need to do to keep this nation safe. And I absolutely agree. We don't go home. I agree completely with Mr. Byrne. We pass this bill, we pass this CR, we pass this appropriations bill, and we stay here, and we get it right. Because the effectiveness and the reliability and the readiness and the ability of our troops to protect us depends upon that. So I am very grateful for all of the work that you have both done. You've worked very hard on this. Mr. Visclosky, I was very pleased to hear in particular your comments about the damage of a CR, and I am very proud of this bill. And you can bet that the vast majority of the people of this nation know that funding the defense of this country is no game, and we certainly know it's no game. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.